warning at the start of the podcast. This week's episode, we discuss some things that other listeners may find quite distressing. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's That's Mental Mate. I'm joined this week with Hester Glenn. She's the mum of Jack Glenn, who sadly took his own life by the river a few years ago. How long is that?
It's 7 years.
7 years. So can I ask, we ask every guest how they are?
Yeah, every day is not a good day since I've lost Jack 7 years ago, especially at this time of the year. This time 7 years ago, Jack took his own life on the 2nd of February. He went into the River Foyle, and it was 8 weeks. So this time 7 years ago, we were still down searching for Jack, and now until the 27th of March, there's a memory every day of where we were searching, what we were doing, and it's I'm actually quite low at the minute, just thinking like that, so, but...
And is that every year, just around them 8 weeks? Is this kind of like an anniversary of some kind, or?
Well, it's not just always anniversary. I just never seem to get, like after the 8 weeks, then it's Jack's birthday in September, and it's all these milestones, and then the next thing it's Christmas, and Jack had such a good Christmas before he took his own life, and, there's just something all the time, so there is. But mostly these 8 weeks would be the worst, so they would, because you just, every day you think, is he going to be found? Is he going to be found,
Yeah. If you want to maybe start, maybe at the start, so, and do you want to maybe tell us a wee bit? I know that's kind of, the story's kind of infamous in Derry especially, but for anyone outside of Derry that's listening, do you maybe want to talk maybe a bit about Jack's life before growing up, that kind of thing? Or?
Well, Jack was a very handsome, need I say myself, he was my son, very handsome. He had everything to live for. Jack played cricket for Ireland. He was very sporty. He went to Foyle College and he did well at school. I don't know where things actually went wrong with Jack. It was the Christmas. Jack took his own life on the 2nd of February 2017, 11 that Thursday morning. I actually didn't get the phone call till after 3 o'clock. But the Christmas before, Jack had actually left school. He didn't finish his upper 6th at Foyle, and he actually left school. He says, "Mum, I want to go to Australia." So I thought, well, spread your wings, whatever. I knew he was always a home bird. I just knew it was never going to be. But anyway, we had to give him the chance at the end of the day. So Jack headed off to Australia, and he did a bit of caring, just different things, but he just didn't settle. He was there for about 6 months, I would say. So whenever Jack came back, he decided, he says, Mum, I think I would like to do something along the caring. At school, he always wanted to be a PE teacher, of which maybe to this day, if Jack had went on and finished his A-levels and whatever, it might have been a different story that I'm telling you today. But he decided he was a very caring person, very, very gentle person, very easy hurt. And he said, "Mum, I think I would like to do caring." And I says, "Well, son, why don't you maybe go into nursing or something?" So he wasn't good enough for him. Jack went to the Tech to finish his A-levels or to get his qualifications or whatever. And in between that, he still played his sports. He was actually coaching youth groups, football training and all. Fella Don Clark took him under his wing. He used to be one of Jack's coaches years ago whenever he was younger. But everything, as I say, we'll never know. But it was just the Christmas before Jack took his own life, 2016. It was Christmas Day, and we went to his sister's house, my daughter Katie's house, for Christmas dinner. And he was talking so positive. He was in the best of form, everything. "Mum, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." And I says, "Well, that's great, son, and I just hope it all works out for you, blah, blah, whatever." I will never know. None of us will ever know why Jack, and I can't sit down and say Jack took his own life because I could tell you a couple of different things, maybe, but something I really don't want to go into, because as I say, I can't. But that particular morning Jack took his own life, something actually happened, Jack, and I don't know if that put him over the top or whatever, but I said to you, this is a bad time, the 8 weeks, but from the 25th of December 2016 to the 2nd of February 2017, I just don't know what went wrong. You know, that Jack actually, he took his own life. He drove his car to the middle of the new bridge, and Jack jumped in, and it was 8 weeks. We searched for Jack's body. It was 8 weeks before we found his wee body. So that's mostly.
And do you think maybe the Christmas day of him saying that was kind of more so for himself, as well as to not worry you, but also to try and pump himself up to be like, I'm feeling better, I can put on a front?
I think so, maybe, because that particular day too, my family all go to my younger sister's house for Christmas dinner, and my mum and all, and I don't know, I'm just probably overthinking. I do think a lot. And Jack says to me, he says, Mummy, can we go over and see Granny and my Auntie Roberta, Auntie Jackie, and all, you know, before, because Jack was actually living down in Derry at that stage, and before I go back down home again. So we went over to my sister's house, and I don't know, and like they actually said the same too. I don't know if Jack had it planned or not, but he hugged everybody and he said goodbye. But you know, I just thought it was something in general, just something you would do. Oh, bye-bye, Granny, and hugged her. Love you, Auntie Jackie, love you, Aunt, you know, whatever. But I just don't know. I just don't know if it was planned, or if it was, maybe, if it was planned, this is something he wanted to do, to say goodbye to everybody. And then he wanted to leave me on a positive note, thinking, oh, I'm back at school and I'm doing this and all. So I just really don't know.
And is it harder? I suppose, like, I can't really say it's harder losing a child in general, but if he was, like you were saying, you were worried about him or that kind of thing, was it so much more of a shock that you thought he was in such a positive?
Well, Jack did have a couple of issues, you know. I don't like judging anybody, but I knew Jack was maybe keeping the wrong company for a while. As I say, I'm not judging his company, but you know, I did see that wasn't Jack's normal friends that he did normally go about with. But obviously it was a shock. You know, I was actually at work that day. It was a shock that he took his own life. You know, I just thought, I didn't think it'd go to that extreme. And I thought, if Jack needs his help, you know, we'll try our best and but again, as I always say, you know, fellas doesn't talk a lot, they don't speak, and Jack would have been a very quiet person. He found it hard to express his feelings, but I don't know whether he was just trying to keep me happy, or whether it was planned, he wanted to say goodbye to everybody, or whatever. I just honestly don't know.
And how was that morning, or that afternoon, should I say, getting that phone call?
Well, actually, I would stay with my mum a few nights a week, and I was actually staying with mum that Wednesday night, and I was going to work in the morning, and I went into work all proud because someone had broke down and I had helped them, and I thought, well, that's my good deed done for today. And good morning, and at work, and I work in a residential home for older people, and there's 2 different floors, so I actually went up at 3 o'clock, but that particular morning I was actually working with my best friend, and she has a Jack and I had a Jack, and the 2 Jacks seemed to be kind of in the same boat. You know, we were thinking about wee things, you know, why is he being so down, why is he being crabbit, why, whatever, and me and her, it was great to talk or whatever, and actually it was our 3 o'clock tea break, and me and Bernadine was sitting just having a cup of coffee, and we were actually talking about my Jack. And the next thing then, Jack's daddy phoned me, Colin, and I says to Bernadine, oh, what now? I says, there's Colin, and the next thing, all I heard was, Jack's dead, Jack's dead. That's what his dad said to me. And after that, Brad, I don't even remember leaving my work. The 8 weeks, I do remember bits and pieces of it, but as I say, I was down there at the riverside. I was searching, me and my daughter, Jack's daddy, people from the city, people from all over the Ireland, not even the north of Ireland, southern Ireland, the whole of, and as I say, it was a shock, and to this day, it's still a shock. I still don't believe it some days. That's the way I feel.
You mentioned there about the amount of people that came in, and I think it was like I've never for our city to have such problems with people entering the river. I've never seen such a formation of hope and help as it did with Jack. I think I don't know whether it's because I didn't know him personally. He was in my school and I know him to see it. I don't think I ever spoke to him, but maybe it's because I knew him. I noticed the more people on Facebook promoting it and let's get down. And what was it like to see that many people just support?
Unbelievable. As I once, I did give interviews to papers and to the media and all, and as I said, I'm not political in any way, but I said, all these politicians and them trying to bring this city together, and the amount of people that supported us, it was unbelievable, from every nationality, every nomination. It was just unbelievable. I don't know if it was his cheeky smile or if he was so well known or whatever, but it was amazing. And actually, in the 8 weeks that we were down there, we actually saved 57 lives, believe it or not, through people from every age group. There was a person actually went in front of us one Saturday morning. We were just standing, the next thing, this massive bang. It was actually the same place where Jack went in, only the different side of the bridge. And it was actually a man who had just retired, so he was obviously in his 60s. And well, me and my daughter Katie, it was not a nice sight to see. We were actually just swept away, but not that the family was very lucky, but they had no searching to do for the body because there was quite a lot of boats on the water that morning, and the rescue team from County Meath was actually able to pull the man into the boat. He was taken to a hospital, but obviously he was dead at that stage, But as I say, 57 lives. I could tell you, I didn't make all the phone calls to. One morning, a young fella, a red-haired fella, come down into the camp. Like, we were there 24/7, but this was a morning. And a young fella, and I don't know whether he was drunk, whether he was high or whatever, but just wanted to end everything. So we talked him into not going into the water. So then, who do you phone? What do you do or whatever? So we just phoned the police, obviously, then, the PSNI. And actually, one night, it was up at the top of the bridge. There was this lady who had lost her job the week before, and she just didn't know how she was going to cope with her bills and, looking after her family. And she was I'll never forget it, in a pink dressing gown, things like that, I do remember. I could smell the smell of alcohol of the lady, but again, we phoned for help, but after that we don't know what help they got. We phoned the police. They either took them to hospital, I don't know what they done. And actually within an hour one night, as I say, I could sit here and talk to you all day about different, and the 57 lives, I didn't phone about them all, but my daughter, within 1 hour, she saved 3 lives just by the Guildhall, just down from there. There was 3 young people who they just wanted to give up, they were just going to just jump, and that was it. And
do you think having, just like yourself there and your sister there, they could talk them down and say, look what we're experiencing, don't put your family through that kind of thing? Or?
Absolutely. I just thought, now at the minute, in Strabane, where I work, and I just live outside Strabane, a young fella who I would know his family fairly well went into the water in Lifford on Saturday night, and I just, my daughter, after we lost Jack, Katie, went into the 3 rivers. She just felt she wanted to help other families and all. I don't think I'm strong enough maybe for that, but Katie was out, that young fella went into the water on Saturday night, and I just know exactly what his family's going through, and I just actually feel sick about it. I just actually feel sick and nauseated all the time, thinking, oh my goodness. And every day, it's another day. It's 3 days since that young fella went in, and I would hate to think they have another 2 months in front of them to think, before his wee body's found.
Because it is the weather and the time of year, because usually, people that don't know, the River Foyle's a fastest flowing in Europe, and it's just because it was so cold that the bodies wouldn't float, wasn't it? And
I actually learned so much about the water, Brad, about different, like I'm sure if you do go into the Get Jack Back page, you see all the different searching times, when the tide was high, when it was low, when it was best to search, and there was people. After there was actually another wee boy in the water the same time that Jack went in. He went in 2 weeks after, and they both were in the water at the same time. And and then after that, there was a man went in shortly after Jack, and he was found within 2 days. But apparently, it's to do with the cold. Many's the night we sat at that Foyle, and it was frozen over, and they said, the body will not come up with the cold. It's all to do with the temperature, apparently. So I'm thinking now, this is the time of year, February, March, so that young fella in the town, but I'm just hoping and praying that they don't have to go through what we went through.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, you said, what was it, 57 bodies?
57. There was one died within the 57 phone calls that we made.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was 57 bodies you recovered. So it was
57. That lady that we coaxed them talked them from going into the water. And the young fella one morning I was down at the camp, and red-haired fella, and I just and he was just given up. He was just going into the water, but we talked to him, and then while somebody was talking to him, somebody was phoning, so we got him help. And
was there many bodies that were found before Jack, and you thought this could be it? And
loads. Actually, the day that Jack was found, as I said, there was another wee boy in the water at the same time, but they couldn't tell us there and then if it was Jack. His uncle Wayne identified his body, and he was more than 100%. He thought, it was Jack. But I don't know, Brad, my head was just everywhere. I just thought, this Jack's found, and I'm getting Jack back, and I'm just going to see him again. He's going to hug me and say, sorry, Mummy, but that wasn't the case. But that's just the way I was thinking, It's just so hard.
And he was stuck, wasn't he?
Jack, they always say it's a motherly instinct, and I used to always, we walked, and we were everywhere. We walked as far as Muff, and just all round where the River Foyle is, and people up by the Brady direction and whatnot. But I always had this feeling, I thought Jack is still there where he went in, and many's the time I just sat there, and I just thought. But it was actually the 27th of March. It was a Mother's Day. It was the Sunday, and there was a crew from, I think they were from County Meath, and they whatever they did, they go, Jack's there, but he's stuck. I don't know what they were doing or whatever. So it was exactly where he went in, but they had nobody. They had no deep sea divers to go in that particular day to see if they could. So at 1:30 the Monday, we had someone coming to. Now I didn't know this at this stage, because someone says to me, well, what would you like for Mother's Day today, Hester? And I says, well, just to have Jack back. I was at that stage where I was just exhausted, but Jack was stuck. But that Sunday his body must have been released, but they didn't know it released it. And then on the Monday morning, then his body actually went down by what do you call that place down near Grantia, where it was down near there where Jack's body was actually. So they obviously released him, and then he started to move down the river, so he was brought.
And as awful as this sounds to say, were you kind of pleased that you personally didn't find him, because your last memory of him is probably a nice one?
Oh, 100%. There's days that me and my daughter Katie, and people didn't like us going together, because I would say to Katie some days, what have we found, Jack? We just kind of just walked along, just talking, and Jack was he loved his tennis. He competed a lot in tennis, and actually one day we went walking or searching, and we found a tennis racket and a tennis ball, and I looked at Katie and I said, oh Katie, no. And then Katie phoned back. It was unbelievable. They called it Camp Jacko, and it was a camp. We had speakers, we had walkie-talkies, we had torches, it was unbelievable. I always say it wouldn't be a nice thing, but it would make a good film, just all the way that it was run, the support we got or whatever. But no, I wouldn't have wanted to find Jack. No, definitely not. No, sorry.
And whenever you were saying there about the politicians and stuff, about what do you think they can do to help with the likes of...
Do you know, it was just unbelievable to see these politicians. You see them on the TV in their suits and their shirts and ties, and them standing arguing and whatnot, and all standing with their cups of soup. As my daughter Katie said, I'll never drink soup or eat a Mars bar again, you know. And they were all standing from every nationality, from every, you know, there was a lot of Irish Army fellas that came, and I thought to myself, you know, why can't this always be in this lovely wee country that we live in, you know? And it's so sad that it's my son has brought these. It was nice, it was lovely to see, but
you probably prefer that rather than crying out for help and getting nothing.
Exactly.
I'm sure some people are like,
exactly.
But in terms of, like, I know, it would be nice to get your opinion on this. I remember seeing, I don't know if you know, I write books as well, and my third book, In Too Deep's based in Derry, and it's about the suicide rates and mental health and that kind of thing. And what actually triggered it was like a petition that went around Facebook, and it was about hiring the railings in the Foyle Bridge, and I was like, that is nice, but it doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't solve, you know, they talked about, you know, we raised a lot of money, we got a lot of money, but we had a lot of boats on the water, and we had a lot of fuel, we had to fuel those boats and things and all, but you know, we had quite a bit of money left, and people says about putting nets up and doing this, and that's not the thing. But what we did with the money, we had quite a bit of money left, and we were able to give, you know, those, I know this is not, it's like the Foyle Search and Rescue and different teams, we would have give them money, but that was for them to help people, you know, it wasn't for the help, you know, with this mental health thing or whatever, you know.
And how do you feel like the money's better used elsewhere rather than them deterrents? Would they better used downstream on finding the root cause of why people are feeling like this?
Oh, definitely. It should be. There's just, I don't know. I just can't get my head around the whole thing, you know, about the mental health. And there's just, you know, as I say, even 7 years ago, and there was one young fellow in particular that we phoned the police, and they took him to the hospital, and there was nowhere for him to go after that. You know, and so we were along them lines. We were thinking, I'm still seriously thinking about it. You know, I'd love to start up something and talk about my experience of losing my son. And, you know, maybe some people might turn around and say, you know, well, you know, mental health, you know, we need to, you know, I don't know, it's just well hard to explain, you know, so it is. But no, I don't think there's enough money put into it. And young people nowadays, I don't know.
There's a lot of people that I speak to in the city and elsewhere as well, and they all say the same thing. It's just not. I think it's because it was such a stigma for so long.
Such a stigma, definitely. Like after Jack, there were so many people, you know. And as I say, it was all different age groups. It wasn't just young people. So mental health's not just with younger people. I suppose the majority is maybe younger people at the minute, but you know, it's all age groups. So it is. It definitely is, and a lot of people went in, you know, went into the River Foyle after Jack, and I don't know, there obviously wasn't enough help out there whenever it was keeping going. When people see what we were going through, like those 8 weeks searching and mucked, excuse my language, mucked to the eyeballs, and muck and sliding and everything, you know, but I don't know, no, there's definitely not enough help brought out there, definitely not.
And how do you feel about people that say if someone enters the river, like, oh, that's drugs, that's drink, that's whatever?
Well, I don't like that. I don't, you know, since I have lost Jack, I probably have mental, you know, I have a lot of depression, anxiety and whatever. So that is mental health. And I don't drink, I don't take drugs, I don't, you know, so I have mental health issues, but that's not always the case. Not always the case. Definitely not.
Yeah.
No.
And how would you feel about? I think you said yourself about setting something up that you can talk. Would you feel like you could help maybe people that are mourning, or do you feel like that would be too hard on yourself to do that, put yourself through that all the time? Or
I don't think I could help with people mourning now. I don't think, because still, you know, like I will probably grieve until the day I leave this earth. I don't think, because times I still have to get help with me grieving and, you know, dealing with Jack's loss. But no, do you know, even the 8 weeks, even maybe being around the bridge more, people walking and, you know, being more aware what's going on around the bridge, you know, that would even save people. Like I was even saying, you know, we had this wee caravan, and many's the night we sat in, or we stood round a big, it was like a big drum we lit for a fire for heat, and we actually talked about starting up a walking group, you know, and even you're just out walking, you might see someone, you know, just help something along those lines maybe, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's 7 years and I still haven't. But I'm just, as I say, it's hard.
Then it's not down to you as well.
No.
I suppose because the Foyle Search and Rescue can only do so much, and the police can only do so much, and
exactly,
someone walking past at the right time can only do so much. But then who's to say if there was like a base at Camp Jacko for someone to cut, like, not then people that came and approached you maybe were like, this is my last resort, if I can get help here, hopefully.
Exactly. And like, you know, I could, the way we did, we talked to them and we talked, you know, round and whatever, but we weren't the ones that helped. Well, we helped them before they actually did what they were going to do, but we, you know, was other help, like as I say, we phoned the PSNI or whatever, and that's wherever it went from there. But we did hear the odd story afterwards, you know, that poor fella, you know, he went to the hospital and they just let him go again, and maybe he would have went maybe to try it again, or she, or whatever, you know. So.
And then there is people that might know about that and just bypass it anyway because they've their mindset on it as well, isn't there?
Exactly. I don't know, I just think it is a very fine line, Brad. Like, I have been in a couple of bad situations since I have lost Jack. There's just days I just don't want to go on. It's the desperation to ring him, to hear, you know, to phone him, to see his face, to hear his voice. It's a very, very fine line, definitely is. And I have experienced that since I've lost Jack, because he was the blue-eyed boy. My daughter Katie used to, I loved my 2 children to bits, but the blue-eyed boy does nothing wrong, so it's not easy living without him.
And I interviewed a lady, Josephine McEltear, before Christmas there. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but her son committed suicide, and she was kind of telling me about how just the guilt is just. Do you experience guilt a lot? Because you seem like a very upbeat and happy person when you're sitting talking.
I am a very bubbly person. People call me, I'm very bubbly, a bubbly personality. But not that I am correcting you in any way, Brad. But I remember I was sitting at the camp one night, and you know, I said about Jack committing suicide.
Oh, is this, they say it's completing suicide?
Yes, or less. He took his own life. That's what I've really said to you since I have come in. And this wee man, Lenny, whose son took his own life, and he says to me, he says, stop there, Hester. He says, Jack didn't commit anything. He didn't commit anything. And then actually after, you know, Jack was laid to rest and all, and I was just looking for help. And Foyle Search and Rescue once a month on a Monday night has a support group. So I joined that, and it's something that, you know, they all just didn't like this, commit suicide. I probably used the term myself before Jack did it. Yeah. And, you know, but when people say it now, I just think, no, Jack didn't commit anything, you know, but that's, as I say, I did it myself, so I can't.
No, I remember, I think it was someone from Foyle Search and Rescue actually told me that before, just that we don't like saying that, because it stigmatizes blame. And like you would say, you commit murder, you committed it.
Committing, you know, like Lenny says, Hester, Jack didn't commit anything. So I always say, but still to this day, there's like even some of my family even say about committing suicide and whatever. But
I don't think there's any malice behind it. It's just because it's such a broad phrase that everyone has always said that it's kind of hard to nip it in the bud.
It's hard.
Kind of thing,
like I did find it hard actually after I was corrected on it, and at that stage, like, my head wasn't with it at all, but it stuck in my mind, so it did. And you know, even my sister says about committing suicide and whatever, but That's what they want to say. But they always say they took their own life or they ended their life or something like that.
Yeah,
you know.
no, sorry for
Oh, not at all. No, I don't want to correct. It's just oh, not at all.
So do you feel similar to what Josephine felt? Do you feel guilt?
Oh,
Massively,
absolutely. You know, as I say, I keep my head keeps going back and back and thinking, but I just keep going back to that day, that Christmas day, and he was so positive. He was very much into the gym, you know, and me and him did a lot of fitness together, and used to run and all, you know, and he'd been slagging away, Mummy, where are you going to put that big dinner and all this, and where's the six pack and things like this, and he was in such good form. And then from then to the 2nd of February, I don't know. And you know, I'm actually that more protective now of my daughter, and sometimes it gets on her nerves a wee bit, but I'm just, you know, like Katie was feeling down a couple of weeks ago and something, and I phoned her daddy, and Colin says, Hester, it's just, we can all get, and I can understand that, we can all get days, but I just don't want to make that same mistake again, you know.
You didn't make a mistake?
Well, I didn't make a mistake, but you do, you have the guilt. You definitely do. Definitely. Where did it go wrong? Could I not have got him help? You know, how did it go that far? And just everything just plays in your mind all the time.
But then I've spoke to people on this podcast, a lot of people that have experienced something similar, maybe losing a friend, maybe losing a loved one.
Yeah.
And a lot of them say, if I could have done something, but then they look and go, well, that person had a child. Like, if they couldn't do it, how are you supposed to do it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then many's a person says, you know, Hester, if Jack had that in his mind to do it, you wouldn't have changed him. You wouldn't have changed, you know, turned him or whatever. And probably that's the way to look at it too. If that's what Jack had planned that morning, nobody was going to change him. And do
you think he would have came to you?
Usually Jack, I would have been the person Jack would have come to. He was very, very close to his granny and granda Glenn, and he would have talked to them, but more so his sister Katie. He talked to Katie a lot, and then times Katie wouldn't have told me or daddy because we probably worried and all, and she felt she could have dealt with it. But Jack would have, you know, it was always, I always knew whenever, if he was looking at Mama or less, if he was in bad form, it was Ma or whatever, I could read him like a book. I thought I could read Jack like a book. I was like, what?
It just shows that, like you said, men just hide everything.
Especially Jack was always, he was a person could never, he was, as I say, he would nearly cry at two flies going up a wall. You know, he was just, you know, two flies fighting going up a wall. He was a very sensitive child. As I said, I work in a nursing home, and we had a wee man who used to play cricket for Ireland, and he was a spinner, and Jack was a spinner for the cricket. And the wee man's hands, he had really bad arthritis, and they were all twisted. And Jack used to love coming in, sitting down, and talking to him about the cricket, and picked up things. And every time he left, he was in tears, and he says, "Oh, Mummy, I can't look at Bertie's hands. Isn't that so sad that he had such a good career, and look the way it's left him?" And you know, he was a wild sensitive. No, I don't think Jack could have. I don't know, he just couldn't express how he felt, and he was so easy hurt, and he took it, so he did.
And like you said, it could have been like, so he got bad news that morning, and you think that's what
well,
topped it up, but it could have been something.
I would say that particular morning, and I have never blamed anybody, and I could say a lot of things, but I just don't feel I want to say it. But there was a girl involved in Jack's life, and just things wasn't good there, and I'm not blaming that girl in any way, but
could have been just loads of things adding up, and then that was the last straw.
And that was the last straw. Exactly. I think that just took the biscuit. Just it couldn't take any more.
But that just shows that it doesn't have to be horrible things and massive things. It can just be built up, and then just cracked.
Oh, definitely not. No, definitely not. But I just think that that morning Jack just couldn't take any more, and that was it. And so, but you know, I've heard of recently, you know, just, you know, I say 7 years and I'm still hearing different things. You know, Jack drove round about 3 times, and was he unsure, was he going to go? But sure, I don't know if that's gospel or whatever, and it's something I really don't want to hear. Yeah. I don't want to hear, you know, I really don't want to hear, you know, he's done this, he's done that, rumours. I like to hear things from the horse's mouth kind of thing, you know. But you know, people even saying that to me, I just thought,
Why are you saying this?
Why are you saying this? This is not going to make me feel any better.
Yeah.
And then some people say, you know, if he'd have drove another wee bit, he'd been at the end, you know, just at the end of it, he wouldn't have been near the bridge, you know, and whatever. But it is what it is. And
I suppose you can maybe ask you that, like, there isn't anything that anyone could, because you know, when someone passes away, you kind of go, I don't know what to say, but there really isn't anything, really, is there?
There is nothing anybody, and you know, people say to me, I don't know what to say to you, Hester, and I says, but I don't know what to say back to you either. You know, I just don't know. I'm dealing with my own grief and my own feelings, emotions myself. Nobody knows, bar me, how I feel. I don't know how Jack's daddy's dealing with it, how Katie's dealing with it, or whatever. But, you know, as you say, I seem to be a very happy-go-lucky, bubbly person, and of which I am. But no one knows what's going on in the head, so they don't, you know, there's just days, it's just to tell you the truth, Brad, there's just days I feel like giving up myself. So, but obviously I'm here for a reason, so.
And would you not think about how you feel about Jack, and think about how how that would affect your daughter and your granddaughter?
I couldn't, you know, I think that's what really does keep me going. I always say Katie and my two granddaughters, they're just my life, and you know, I don't think they could live without me, and I wouldn't want to put them through that hurt, definitely not. Like, Katie's been through enough. She's lost her only sibling, her only brother, you know, one night, and it's unbelievable how things happen. You know, it was shortly after Jack was laid to rest on the 1st of April, and I was actually staying with Katie, and my sister texted me, night, wee sis, and I happened to read this text out, you know, and Katie was sitting crying, and I says to her, are you alright, darling? She says, I'll never hear that again, Mummy. You know, you come out with these things, you don't you know, like, I thought, oh, that's my sister saying night, wee sis, or whatever. And I just read it out, and I thought nothing of it, and then I thought, no, she will never hear it again. So.
And what advice would you give that's helped you with, like, other mothers that have experienced something like this? Is there anything that you can say that way?
I honestly felt, you know, as I said to you, I went to that support group. Now, since COVID, I haven't went back, but at that time, I really felt it was a great help. There's many a night I went to it and I didn't speak. There's other nights I felt I wanted to talk, but I felt so good in that room. Not everybody that took their own life went into the River Foyle. You know, they did it different ways. But sitting in that room, you know, everybody was in their own thoughts, all right, but we knew how each other felt. Do you know that kind of way? I just feel, you know, it's like a united people say, oh, support group, I don't want to sit and talk and whatever. It worked for me. It worked for me at the stage that I went to it. But no, I think you should go and talk more to people. And now I keep my circle very small. I've 4 great close girlfriends. And they understand my feelings, my emotions, what I've went through and whatever. Talk to your friends, you know, be with people more maybe, you know. But as I say, the support group I felt very, very helpful. So I did. Some nights I spoke, some nights I didn't want to speak. Then I picked up other things from other people. You know, people would say, and how are you today, Hester? And you know, sometimes you think to yourself, well, how do you think I feel, kind of thing, you know? And then there's others, oh, fine, gran, whatever, you know. You pick up all these wee things, and then people saying Merry Christmas. I hate Christmas. I hate Christmas now since I lost Jack, because that was one of the best memories I had, was that particular morning. And that particularly we had our dinner in his sister's house, and then we played charades and whatever, and Jack left Katie's at 5 that day. And, well, I seen him after that, but it was just a good memory, and just thinking what went wrong, I'll never know.
And you mentioned there about how you kind of are a bit overprotective of Katie now, and it does her head in, but do you think it's brought you closer as a family because you know how each other are feeling? Or?
Oh, definitely. Oh, Katie always says, you know, Mummy, I couldn't live without you, and she tells me how much I love her, and I tell her how much I love her, and you know.
Is there some families that a guy would cringe at that?
You see, Katie was never ever that close kind of person, but we were actually at a show, my wee granddaughter dances in the Alley Theatre there a couple of weeks ago, and there's times I look at Katie and she's just Jack's double. And I look and I think, oh my God, you're just, the two's very alike. They were always very alike. But I just look and I think, oh, that's just a female version of Jack or whatever. Obviously, she's his sister. But I remember we were coming out of Lally Theatre, and I was actually going to work, and Katie was going home, and I called her back and I says, give me a big hug now, darling, before we go to work. So we give each other a hug, and I says to her, oh, you're so like Jack tonight. Oh, is that why I got the hug? She says. She just, whatever way I looked at her, I just thought, but that wasn't the reason, you know. Oh, is that the reason I got the hug then? She says. But no, very, very close. And as I say, I worry about maybe grandchildren too coming up, you know. Lexi's 9 and Rhea's 3, and it's just, I don't know. I just don't know what's out there for them. It's just live a day at a time.
But then it's good that you have that closeness now, that they'll know that they can speak about it if they ever have any problems.
Any problems, I'd get it. And you know, I would actually speak more to my grandchildren than I would of Jack and Katie. I would know, you know, I'd look for more signs. As I say, I'm probably being overprotective or being overlooking things and whatever. And you know, people say to me, Hester, you're overthinking. But you know, when you lost a child to taking their own life, you know, you do be like that. Like one time Katie was sick a couple of years after Jack, and I knew Katie was very, very sick, and the ambulance came, and he said, you know, I don't feel she needs to go to hospital and whatever. And I said, you know, I've lost one child, and I said, I don't want to lose another child. Well, if it keeps you happy. And I was so glad I did say that, because I actually saved Katie's life, so because she was actually very, very ill. So she was, and the ambulance wasn't actually going to take her to the hospital. But I speak out more now. I just speak out more and just say what I have to say, you know. So. And
we end the podcast every week giving a bit of advice to our listeners. So if you're ever in a bad mood or feeling really down, depressed, obviously, what do you do, and what advice would you give that makes you get up out of bed and get about your day?
Well, I do work. I am a carer in a home, and I have to get out of bed to go to work because I have to live, I have to pay my bills or whatever. But as I said to you, I have 4 very, very good friends. We have actually a group chat, and you know, sometimes when I put up things, they know how I feel. So it's good to talk to other people, definitely. Family, close friends, people that understand what you're going through. But I just more talking and more. I do a lot of meditation. Now I found that very hard. I started to do meditation a few years ago. Tried to do it after I lost Jack, because my head was just everywhere. It was going. I was just didn't know what I was doing. Now, well, I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist at it yet, but I do like the wee meditations. They do settle me. I do yoga, you know, things to relax. When I do feel down, I don't like being on my own. I don't like being on my own, so I do make a phone call, or as I say, I do a meditation or something like that, you know. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you very much for coming on and talking to me. Nice wee chat.
I hope I done the right thing.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone negatively affected by this week's episode, there are a number of links in the bio to help. That's all from me. I will see you next week on That's Mental Mate.